Hey everybody, Shannon Young here from Podzilla 1985, creator and host, and it's Wednesday. We normally don't do a show on Wednesday. You normally hear PZ85 extras and epilogues on Wednesday, but we do record it a day early, and we usually take Wednesday night off. I'm alone by myself, and the reason I'm on right now, and this is going to be a very short show, but I wanted to talk about this now by myself because we will talk about this tomorrow on After Dark. But as you know, with After Dark, there was a panel, and I've already had a lot of hot, fiery discussions amongst my friends group about what happened today. And I know it's probably going to get heated again tomorrow. And normally when I get heated, I sometimes miss the message, what I'm trying to say. So I wanted to do a quick little audio podcast here about what happened today in Utah and give you my thoughts on it in the immediate aftermath while it's still fresh before tomorrow's show, when who knows what could happen. So today, conservative voice, far right-wing conservative voice, and Donald Trump supporter, creator of Turning Point, and someone you've probably heard his name of before, Charlie Kirk, was shot and killed in Utah at a campus where he was invited by Turning Point. I believe Turning Point USA is what it's called. And if I get some of the facts wrong, I apologize. I think they're less important than the major picture. But he was invited to speak at the campus, and he did. He was in a tent surrounded by a lot of people, some supporters, a lot of supporters, and a lot of people who were there to basically debate him. This is something that Charlie Kirk does. He goes around, he debates people. He will, quote unquote, take on all comers. It's something he's well known for. And while he was in the middle of this debate, I think this was around 1 or 2 o'clock, while he was in the middle of this debate and he had gotten a question about mass shootings, he was shot in the neck and died. And a lot of people have a lot of emotions right now about this. A lot of people are saying a lot of different things. And I wasn't going to do this, but I watched a video by Tim Miller in the Bulwark that hit on a lot of the things that I was thinking, a lot of things I'm afraid of. And I wanted to say those while I had a free chance to do it, just in case tomorrow does get heated and the message gets muddied or gets lost, or maybe I'll be drinking whiskey or wine or something and I just won't remember to say it. So this was an assassination. It just is. I don't think anyone has any doubts about that. This was not a mass shooting. There was one shot, one target. And as far as I know right now, they have still not found the person that did it. They did have a suspect in custody, but he was ruled out, not as the shooter. The only thing they know about the shooter is he wore dark clothing. I don't even know where to start on this. I got into a fiery discussion with friends in the chat, in the Podzilla chat. I won't say names because I think we disagree on how this is. Now, I'm not saying anyone in that chat flat out celebrated this, but there were certain people both there and on my Facebook and in the community as a whole, I think, weren't quite as sympathetic as maybe I was towards what happened. And we got in a debate about those things. So I'm not condemning them or anything. It's just I disagree. And someone said, we were talking about the show tomorrow, and they said, well, I'd probably disagree with you too if you're doing what a lot of people are doing and saying he was an innocent man. And I said, my response was, well, why the fuck would I say he was an innocent man? You have to understand why I would say that. So Charlie Kirk and I couldn't be further away from each other in our political beliefs. He is very right-wing extremist, I feel like, and I like to think of myself more as a centrist, but I definitely am liberal. I lean liberal. I mean, I don't think that's any surprise. I don't think anyone is shocked by that revelation. I think a lot of what he said, if not all of what he said, was hateful and divisive, to say the least. This is a man that, talked about women's rights, who made fun of the left, made fun of woke people, trans people. I mean, the things he said are the kind of things that I condemn, and I will continue to condemn, and I will always condemn. But I think if you're a human being and you see that this 31-year-old father of two, I believe, with a 1-year-old son, much like when they shot the guy from the Luigi shot that other guy, if you have no empathy at all, I strongly disagree with that. Because at the end of the day, this is still a human being. And I get you hate what he said. I hate what he said. But he's still a person. And something that Tim Miller touched on with the Bulwark is that you cannot live in a free country with free speech if you're too afraid to say how you feel and what you think. I don't agree with Charlie Kirk, but I will, what's the old saying? I don't agree with what you say, but I will defend to the end your right to say it. Because this is a country built on free speech. You might not always like what that free speech is. And you're going to hear a lot of this tomorrow too. So I apologize if I retread on this tomorrow, because I don't know how many of those guys are going to listen to it. And I do want to make this point again. Point is, this is not a free country if you cannot speak freely. And just because you don't like what they have to say and you think it's horrible and you think it's, disgusting, I don't think that gives anyone the right to murder them. When is it ever a good idea to answer dialogue with violence, especially, fatal violence? There was a time years upon years ago, I don't remember the guy's name, but he was like a neo-Nazi, or at least he had neo-Nazi tendencies, and he got sucker punched in the street and everyone laughed and celebrated it. And I didn't. I said, I think it's wrong to do that because this man was practicing his freedom of speech. And yes, there are consequences to freedom of speech, but speaking, the consequences should not be a sucker punch, and it sure as hell shouldn't be getting murdered. And while I hate what Charlie Kirk said, and I hate what he stood for, I also hate the idea that if we disagree politically, that murder is a acceptable answer to that opposition. I said this to Jesse, to a friend: good and evil are points of view. Now, you can say, of course, objectively, Nazis were evil. Of course they were. They committed genocide. They were horrible people, right? But in today's political climate, in where we are now, I think the right is evil because they preach what I feel like is hate. They are divisive. They're deporting people. They're breaking families apart. They seem like monsters to me. Charlie Kirk was a mouthpiece for the monster, right? He was part of that. But to the guys on the other side, people like me, who has in the past called Republican voters and Republican politicians idiots and monsters and knuckle draggers and all these other insults, and I preach about trans rights and I preach about gay rights and how black people have it bad in America and stuff like that. I preach about how DEI was a good thing, all of those things. Some of those people will think that I am evil and that the things I say are anti, protecting our children or anti-American. I don't want someone to come into my job and shoot me because I disagreed with them politically and I am outspoken about it. I don't care what you think of Charlie Kirk's politics. He should not have been murdered. And if you can't feel anything other than a smirk because a man was shot dead and a family is without their father, something's wrong with you. And I refuse to believe that people are that cold-hearted. I don't know why I refuse to believe that, because they've shown over and over that it's true. And I'll say this tomorrow too, on a much smaller note, doing this, killing someone like Charlie Kirk, who isn't a politician, who, yes, he's outspoken and he's a part of the beast. He's a part of the machine, but he's not the machine. Killing him doesn't do any good. You didn't solve the fascism problem. You didn't silence all of those people saying those terrible things. If anything else, you have given them more ammunition to use against us. Donald Trump has already gotten away with so much because the hate that he preaches, the fear that he puts into his followers, most of the time is misguided. But I just watched Charlie Kirk get shot through the neck and murdered and saw how many people either celebrated it or said, don't feel sorry for him because of this. What do you think that's going to do for the cause? How bad do you think it's going to get when the other side sees this reaction to what should be just a flat out awful thing, a murder of a father, murder of a political advocate, yes, murder of an outspoken political talking head who I disagreed with, yes, but this is America, which is built on the idea of being able to speak your mind. And it's okay to feel differently about certain things. I certainly don't think it's okay to feel the way that he did about certain things. But how do we answer that? We answer words with words. We answer conflict of a verbal nature, of a debating nature, with more debate. You don't shoot him in the neck and then celebrate. It's fucking ridiculous, and it's scary because I'm scared that this is not the end of it. Whoever shot Charlie Kirk didn't just save America. He probably actually condemned it to something worse than it already is. And I get people are frustrated with Donald Trump. I'm frustrated with Donald Trump. I'm frustrated with conservatives. I'm frustrated with the right. I hate the nonsense that they're saying. I hate the bullshit that they say. But the answer isn't to shoot them. I said when Donald Trump, someone tried to kill him, that it was wrong. And I stand by it with Charlie Kirk. This is a terrible, terrible thing that's happened today. It's an awful thing. And I'm sorry if you're one of my listeners and you are anti-Republican and you are anti-conservative and you came to this wanting to hear me bash Charlie Kirk or talk about how he had it coming, you're not going to get it from me. You might get it tomorrow from some other people on the show. I don't know. But if they do, I will push back against it because I don't think it's right. This is murder. This was an assassination. This is not how things should go. And now I'm a little worried for my own safety and for the safety of people I know, because Charlie Kirk and I couldn't be more different, but in some ways we were similar. Look, I have a small listener base compared to Charlie Kirk, minute, but I still have a listener base. And there are still people that know me as this outspoken critic and this outspoken political advocate. And what if something I say or have said sets someone off who is either frustrated with the liberals in the world, or maybe they're not well in the head. And yes, the conservatives have made it easier for them to purchase a gun and shoot me with it. But should I be condemned to death for speaking my mind? No, and neither should Charlie Kirk. I hope they catch the person that did this coward. And I hope they prosecute him to the fullest amount of the law, but it won't set things right. He's still dead. His family is still without a father. His kids are without a father. And it's going to get worse before it gets better. I'm worried about what's going to happen to this country going forward. And I was talking to Derek earlier, and I told him this doesn't fix anything. I don't think it can ever be fixed again. But the answer sure as hell isn't celebrating or mocking. I get wanting to because you're frustrated. I get it. But it's not right. And I know some of my friends disagree with me. And I hope we're still friends after all of this dust settles. But I can't in good conscience just laugh at this and blow it off with a joke. I can't. This was murder. This was terrible. And I wish everyone saw it that way. I don't like Charlie Kirk. I never liked Charlie Kirk. but he did not deserve to be murdered. And for those of you keeping track politically with everything going on with Trump and with the Epstein files, well, there are no Epstein files at this point, because whoever this was that shot Charlie Kirk just handed Trump a get out of jail free card for everything that happened, because you better believe the attention will be off of that now, and it will be strictly on this. So good job. You really put one over on the conservatives and Donald Trump by murdering Charlie Kirk. Not only do you make the resistance look terrible, you make the liberals look terrible, you make humanity look terrible, and you handed Donald Trump another excuse to do terrible things. And guess what? You didn't end fascism. You didn't end Donald Trump's reign. You've done nothing but rob a family of a husband and a father, and rob a nation of potential progress in bringing people to justice and holding them accountable for what they've done. That's all out the window now. And now every person that goes out there and speaks their mind freely, especially outspoken people, will have to look and wonder if someone's pointing a gun at them. It's fucking terrible. Talk about it more on After Dark tomorrow. I had to get these initial thoughts out, or it was going to drive me crazy. So, see you tomorrow for After Dark. We'll talk about this more, and hopefully we'll have more info. So thank you guys for listening. We'll see you tomorrow.